Hi, I'm Glenn, City Valley Fishing Field Team, COAF Field Team. In this round, we just got a few updates, hopefully to learn to fish by our trials and errors. And so let's talk about what we had going. Today's Monday, February 10. Some updates from this past weekend. We ended up fishing the trout stocking over there at Frisco Saturday afternoon after the Derby, as well as Sunday morning right before it started to rain. So got a lot of fun things there. We got a couple of videos that we posted concerning while we're there on site, as well as the the following day when we fished Saturday as well as Sunday. And I think there was some good things that we learned this round that you want to put in your back pocket next time you go out there. So let's talk about Saturday. Saturday was sunny over there at Frisco Commons. They stocked the trout, and they had the trout derby for the Trick a Trout trout derby that they hold every year. And what I heard from folks that were there earlier was that it was pretty crowded, but there were a lot of folks catching some fish there. And some of the key things that we picked up on was, from a lure standpoint, Super Duper, Rooster tails, and Kastmaster. One in particular from a Kastmaster view was being able to take your Kastmaster and also run a trailing fly, sort of like a bubble fly rig, excuse me, a bubble fly rig, but instead of a bubble fly, you're using a Kastmaster or a lure to get it out there. And I think we posted some of those tips in our trout fishing using spinning gear strategy. So it's nice to know that some folks were able to get some trout, catch them on fishing flies, even though they didn't have a fly rod. And so we saw that working from some colors of the Super Dupers. What I know, sorry, still getting over this cold. What we saw from a Super Duper standpoint was the silver color seemed to be a go-to getter. White Rooster tails, as well as the Kastmaster in silver. From a power bait standpoint, trout bait, dough bait, as well as PowerWorms seem to be a go-to piece there. Excuse me. Again, we're trying to knock out this cold. From a fishing fly standpoint, we heard from others that dry flies were working. Yours truly, the Near Deere, olive Near Deere was the go-to fly on Saturday. And then also from others, we also heard that the olive woolly bugger as well as rainbow warrior was a key fishing fly to use out there. In the sense of a Near Deere, we were working 3 foot under a strike indicator. I think it was it's the cork strike indicator that we like using. It's made out of cork, has a little rubber gasket, and it doesn't slip. That's one of our favorite ones to use while we're out there. And we set it 3 foot under the indicator, cast it out there, let it drift, and sure enough, it was doing pretty good. Let's see, Mark Johnson. Hi, Mark. Thanks for the live stream piece. Bet that he was stocked in December. It's not since been stocked since then. I'd stopped by there a couple of times since December. Mainly been seeing the bass and the bluegill. May see the occasional trout being caught, but recently not seen too many. Alrighty, but thanks for joining there, Mark, and thanks for the question. Excuse me, I gotta take a break here real quick. Like I said, we're still trying to get over this cold. All right, I'm back. Okay, so talking about Frisco Commons, we talked about lures, the Super Duper, the Rooster tail, the Kastmaster. If you don't have a if you don't have a fly rod, you can still use a bubble fly rig, as well as the Kastmaster with a trailing fly that we noted in our trout fishing strategy video. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I mentioned about power baits, trout bait, and PowerWorms. From a fishing fly perspective, dry flies, Near Deere, the olive woolly bugger, as well as the rainbow warrior from one of the other folks that had mentioned, I think, on one of the fishing forums. From a bubble fly rig standpoint, again, that Kastmaster and putting that trailing fly, just another opportunity to expand the ability to catch a fish. If they're biting on flies, you're able to still do some fly fishing or catching them on fishing flies, even though you don't have a fly rod. So the bubble fly rig, as well as that variant of a bubble fly where you're using a Kastmaster instead of a bubble fly. Also for Saturday, one thing that we note was we already saw them starting to start feeding on whatever was hatching. Every year we see in Frisco that this time of year, because of the weather, temperature changes, there seems to be a hatch that happens around about 5 o'clock as it gets darker in the evening, and you'll start seeing these little tiny, I don't know what you call them. Sometimes, excuse me, sometimes they're black, sometimes they're kind of a sulfur dunish color, and it just seems like that's what they want to feed on. And so in the past, when we make a trip in the afternoon or later evening or early evening, we'll bring ourselves about a size 16, size 18 Griffiths Gnat, or maybe midge, and start fishing the dry fly bite or the surface action. So keep that in your back pocket, which when we went back there Sunday morning, a little bit different from Saturday, they were still hitting the olive Near Deere. Right, here's the olive Near Deere right there. They were still hitting the olive Near Deere, but without a strike indicator. And in fact, they wanted some movement. And initially we were getting some missed strikes, and then we shifted over to a short pull retrieve, which I think someone asked us about that retrieve. Give me a second, I can show you how we were doing this. Let me go grab a rod. All right, let me go ahead and pull this off. Okay, so here is a fly rod, and the retrieve that I was using that morning, give me a second here, I think I got it tangled here. Apologize, just I just got to find where the line starts, and then I can get an idea of what we're doing here. This is live, so apologize what's going on here. Oh wait, let's go a different one then. We'll just switch out the reel. All right, I think I got one here. Here we go. Okay, please bear with me. And what I'm trying to do is demo the retrieve we were using on those short pull retrieves, and that was kind of what was saving us with a bunch of strikes. And so let me go ahead and take out a bunch of line here. So the retrieve we were using for the Sunday morning with that olive Near Deere was, let's just go do this. So right here. So we've got our hand here, and we were doing this real quick, short pull, just like this. And then we'd stop and then keep pulling. And then what ended up happening is you'd see them strike. Don't pull on the line. Don't jerk back on the line or try setting the hook. Instead, just keep pulling and keep that pace. And they were hooking themselves. And with that, when we started doing that, what was good was our hookup rate ended up being more of a more like every other one we were missing. This one ended up being more like out of every 3 or 4 we were actually on the hook and being able to bring that fish in. So that's what it was. Excuse me. Still got to get over this cold. And so what worked on Sunday morning was the short pull retrieve, and then somewhere around, I'd say about 8:30, we were there about 7:30, 8 o'clock. About 8:30, 9 o'clock, it seemed like the bite kind of slowed down. And what ended up happening there was we would cast out, and instead we did a long pull retrieve. Okay, so in the short pull retrieve, we were doing this. And the long pull, it's basically a long pull, just boom. And what we were doing was we were casting, letting it doing like a 5-6 count to let the fly sink, and then we would just do a long pull and watch the line as it got pulled and go slack. You watch for any slight movement, maybe a hesitation in the line, or even a tug. And right then is when we go ahead and start pulling even more to get to set the hook. That's what we noticed. It was a much more slower bite later Sunday morning, and then it started raining, and then of course we had to call it quits at that point. Other than that, that was what we did Sunday. Again, we did see the hatch that we had mentioned previously. We saw the trout definitely striking, and so you definitely want to have some dry fly with you if you're going to go out there and do some fly fishing. It's going to get weird this upcoming week, with especially all this rain and then change in temperature. If you plan on hitting Frisco, standard fare, bring a spinning rod, ultralight, bring a fly rod if you want to do some fly fishing, or some bubble fly rigs and preps. If you don't fly fish, you might be able to do that with your spinning gear. And then do bring some power bait, trout bait, PowerWorms, some various lures, specifically the Kastmaster, excuse me, super duper rooster tail, and then have those dry fly midges, size 16, size 18, Griffiths Gnat. Just have that ready and watch for the fish activity. You start seeing them hitting on top, you're definitely gonna do good. Other thing that we noticed, especially with Frisco, is you'll also see them where they're striking, and you'll see them jump out of the water as they're hitting these bugs that are hatching. Some years they'll just come straight out of the water and take them. Other times you'll see them, the backs come up out of the water, and you can definitely see them feeding. Then there's other times where it's more like a slurp, or almost like the water kind of bulging, and then they go under. And in this case, what's happening is they're not actually striking a fly that's on the surface. It's actually under the surface, and they're basically eating it before then. And when we see that, especially if we have a Griffiths Gnat, we'll fish the Griffiths Gnat wet. And what we'll do is we'll cast it and we'll twitch it to make it go under, and then we'll just do short twitches as if it's kind of trying to break the surface. And we tend to get more hits that way when we start seeing them do this feeding activity. So when they're jumping out of the water, you definitely see the heads coming out of the water eating, hitting on the surface. But when you see them porpoising, or just kind of under the surface, seeing a bulge when they feed, they're feeding under the surface, or just under the surface. That's before it breaks. So some of the lessons learned that we learned specifically with Frisco. So it may change in other places, but we notice this every year and out. Don't know why, but it does that. Okay, let's see. Gear notes. One thing that we're going to do different, we picked up that MaxCatch 2-weight 10-foot fly rod from Amazon. And initially, we had this Echo Ion 2-3 weight that we took out there with a Rio Trout Max Skagit head. And this was a big difference in being able to cast. And we initially had the Hydros Orvis reel that we picked up for a good deal from Orvis during the Christmas sale, or after Christmas sale. And then we picked up a 2-weight line, and we were using just a weight forward 2-weight floating line. When we went out there Sunday, we were using that reel with this 2-weight weight forward line, and we noticed that it cast well. It was nice, but the rod seemed to be able to handle that Trout Max. It's a 200 grain Skagit head, meant for one-handed spay casting, and we've since switched out lines. We now have the larger 10-foot 2-weight rod with that Hydros reel with the Rio Trout Max, and we're looking pretty well. That's going to be probably the fly rod that we'll be using for most of the this season, if not the rest of the season. All righty, excuse me, I got a little message here. Okay, let's see. Okay. So that's what we had from a gear note standpoint. Also, what we also noticed with the Echo Ion, we were using this little laser line, which is a mono line that was kind of slipping under the lip here. And we'd have to take it out and make sure we untangle it. So a Hydros doesn't seem to do that. It has tighter tolerances, and so we don't have to worry so much with that mono running line, laser line from OPST. So we'll probably show some more video on that in the upcoming weeks, just to show kind of like that that setup. So we'll play around with that some more and kind of want to see what we can catch on a 2-weight fly rod. All right. Alrighty, so that's pretty much all for now. I just want to say, do like and subscribe. Send some comments, questions, suggestions. We'll definitely hope to answer them. If not, we'll maybe find someone who could. And that said, we do have a reminder that this Wednesday we have a giveaway for the 2 olive Near Deere and a Tinkara fly. We call it the Marilyn Monroe. It's a pink thread body with a white hackles, reversed wrapped, and it seems to be a good one for us when we're catching bass. And so check out the video for that. It's the giveaway. I think it's like we posted like 2-3 videos ago. All I got to do is just comment, send a comment in that video, put you in the running. We'll do a random drawing for it, and then just make sure you have a valid U.S. mailing address and a valid email address so we can coordinate shipping. All right, so that's all for now. Appreciate those that were able to join, and we'll see if we get this reposted so those that weren't able to join today are able to at least pick it up later. All right, the next time, we'll catch y'all later. Good luck and good fishing.